just another day at the office, if your office happens to be at computer game maker Ubisoft, and if you happen to be hard at work developing its latest video game, Just Dance 2. After all, if you want to evaluate the real gamer experience, you have to Just Dance 2. It's one of the most recent games in development for Ubisoft, a company which the French like to point to as their own version of Apple or Microsoft, mainly because of its origins. The company was founded by 5 brothers from an obscure town in Brittany who inherited a farm supply business, which morphed into a mail-order company that morphed into a line of video games. Before long, the brothers were part of the $50 billion a year video game industry, especially because of gaming hits like Assassin's Creed, which has sold nearly 30 million units worldwide, and is sure to go even higher when the 4th and last sequel of the game comes out this fall. The head of the company believes that being in France, where the other big game publishers are not, has helped the company grow.
Because there are lots of great schools in France, we were able to recruit very talented people. And when you start your company and you go in LA, there are lots of talented people, but there are so many great companies there that it's very difficult when you are a small company to find the right people.
Today, Ubisoft is no longer small, employing 4,000 people, primarily in France and Canada, and the company is regularly in the top 10 in sales. To build a new game, the programmers work in teams, starting with perhaps 70 people, but expanding to as many as 500 programmers who each day contribute bits and pieces of the game to a central server. Then the next day begins with an assessment of how far the game has gotten and how much more needs to be done. Elaborate games can take 2 or 3 years of development. The CEO believes that Ubisoft, which is marking its 25th anniversary this year, was very lucky to have been growing at the same time as global connections and global markets were developing.
That made a big difference, because this worldwide open market is something that is giving anybody in the world a chance to succeed, and that, I think, is the key of what has been the growth in the last decades, and that we need to preserve.
The Ubisoft CEO says he still plays games occasionally himself and has become something of an armchair psychologist, regularly handing out books to visitors on human motivations.
You know, we have our instincts, our basic desires, and in fact, we have to fulfill them. So if you can fulfill them in virtual worlds, on top of real worlds, you actually are in a better shape in your day-to-day life.
The gamers may live in a virtual world, but Yves Guillemot and his brothers are making real-world money. Jim Bitterman, CNN, Paris.